And even though it's going to get hard, we're going to take heavy hits in this. Do not give up, no matter what. Do not give up.
I just want to acknowledge some of the people who are here today with us. Of course, we got Supervisor Avalos and Supervisor Mercury. Today is that we're living in a police state in San Francisco throughout the United States.
That's right.
And what I have to say is that unless we really take community control of the resources, this will continue. They are policing away our folks. They are policing away communities of color. They are policing immigrants. They are policing homeless people. They will police all of us if we don't stop it.
That's right.
And as we move into a budget discussion, we need to really talk about the allocation of resources. A police rookie makes $90,000, while our advocates make like the $30,000, and they deal with crisis every day, and they know how to deal with our communities. We need to talk about resources allocation. If we want the cops to police, or we want our folks to be supported. We have long histories of trauma in our communities caused by the impoverishment of our communities, by the very few who are now controlling power. We need to stop that, brothers and sisters, to really stop police brutality. And to close up, they come out always with weird things like no child left behind. I have an idea for accountability. Let's ask the SFPD that if for every time that a cop beats a person or shoots a person, that we take resources away from them. Is the power? And by the way, hiring people of color in the department will not change. I see the violence by Latino cops in the mission every day. So, in the memory of Dr. King, only love. Thank you.
SFPD. Until July of 2010, SFPD had a comprehensive 40-hour police crisis intervention training. Only 4 people, which is still too many, were shot in the 10 years that was in place. Since July, 3 mental health consumers have already been shot. 3 in 6 months. All officers should be required to take this training, and this needs to be refunded immediately. Immediately. We formed a partnership with the Public Defender's Office, the Coalition on Homelessness, Caduceus Justice, and the Mental Health Board, and other stakeholders. We're committed to taking a leadership role on this issue.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, I would like to introduce Supervisor John Avalos, District 11 Supervisor of San Francisco. And I want to say real quick, pay attention to the politicians that turn up to events like this, because these are the ones that are actually standing with the people. We invited the chief of police to come here today. Do you see him anywhere?
No!
We invited the police commission to turn up today. Do you see them anywhere?
No!
Do you see the new mayor anywhere?
No!
Okay, but I do see a couple supervisors who've come out to stand with the people against police violence. And Supervisor John Avalos, thank you very much for being one of those.
So I want to thank everyone for coming out here today, for bearing witness to our anger and our frustration with the police department. How can a man who is in a wheelchair be shot by the police? Even if he has a knife, that is ridiculous that we don't have policies in place that can help those things from ever happening. We have the Police Crisis Training Institute that was cut. Funding was cut to do proper training for the police department to prevent those kind of police officer shootings that happened last week and the week before. This is San Francisco. We need to make sure our anger is voiced, our concern is voiced, that we cannot have this kind of tyranny happen in our streets ever again. And I'm so sorry that I was not around last week to really talk about this the way it needed to be talked about. As an elected official who has oversight over our city departments, I had a responsibility to be here to voice my frustration, my concern, my anger, my outrage at what happened, and I was not able to do that because we were having that whole discussion about the mayor. But I was so infuriated. I was so infuriated to see, instead of there being an appropriate response from the police department about contrition, about sorrow that this had happened, and they're out promoting tasers as a response to what happened. Instead of like having appropriate the contrition, there was discussion about how we can turn this into a political advantage so we can promote tasers in our cops. That's not how we should be doing our business. We should be saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. We have to look at what our training is like. We have to make sure that our officers are doing everything they can not to use their guns, not even to get to that point. They have other tools in their arsenal, other tools in their resources to make sure that they have to use before they use the most excessive forces they can. So I commit myself to work with my colleagues on the Board of Supervisors to make sure that we can push them to the most we can to use the least amount of force possible to protect people, especially people with disabilities and people who have mental health crises in San Francisco. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to introduce the one other city supervisor that has turned up for this rally. That's Supervisor Ross Mercarimi.
I want us to declare in early 2011 that we will not allow this to happen again. I want us to declare with great vigor that the setbacks that we've experienced in community policing in San Francisco is not going to be reversed with the top-down delivery of community policing delivered by the police department. It has to be led by the people. We have to decide what kind of community policing we want in San Francisco. We have to decide how we want to hold the criminal justice system accountable to the people of San Francisco. We also have to decide just where is our point of resignation or asserting ourselves and making sure that they hear our concerns in the neighborhoods that are often the most distressed economically, that see the highest violent crime rates throughout the city, and who are often forgotten because they are resource challenged. This is about us connecting the dots. On the day of Martin Luther King's birth, he has since then told us in this ability to commemorate that social rights and economic rights are connected at the hip. And we have known that part of the great Revolutionary Act that Dr. King spoke of was rooted in the common sense of organizing within those communities that are most disadvantaged. We see this even in a cosmopolitan city like San Francisco, in a city where our reputation as being so-called progressive precedes ourselves. But you know what? We know the truth. We're not that progressive. No. We have a hell of a lot more work to do, and that work is not going to come from room 200. It's not going to come from the district attorney's office, especially now. And it's not going to come from the police department. It has to be creatively finessed, or it has to be insisted upon in a way that makes us proud to be able to say this is what it means to have public safety that is people-led in the city and county of San Francisco. Because if we don't do that, what I fear, by all indicators, as to what brought us here today, is that more of this will occur when you take back funding for mental health treating in the police department, when you cut back that sensitizes the ability of law enforcement officials to understand the diverse needs and the diverse challenges of people that they're confronted by, that we can only expect more of these kind of incidences to demean the integrity of what it means to be San Francisco. And it's important we do not allow them to do that. From City Hall, as Supervisor Avalos just remarked, and I completely agree, it is a time now where even on this particular day that we draw lines in the sand of sensibility, and that we demand more of ourselves instead of just reflexing to the particular kind of horrific incidences that occur, so that we can rewrite what is before us as an option, that instead of us saying no to future incidences, what we want to say is what kind of criminal justice system, what kind of community policing we want to see here in our city, so we can live up to what is known as a progressive city. Thank you.